Good afternoon, everyone. This is Susan Patrick with STEM on S, and welcome to our final user group for 2021. We have our typical year-end topics today, so I'm going to go ahead and quickly get through our starting slides, and then we'll jump right into the topic. So as always, we get a large number of folks on these meetings, and so everybody is muted upon entry. If you can hear me now, that's awesome. If for any reason during the meeting you lose your audio, sometimes if you're on computer audio, that might drop. You want to try back in or maybe try to call in, change yourself to phone. And let's move right along here. So here we have some of our GoToWebinar tools. I know we all jump from all of these different remote ways of meeting today with GoToMeeting and GoToWebinar and Zoom and Teams. It's hard to remember them all, quite frankly. So when it comes to the GoToWebinar, you have that great little panel on the side. A couple key things here to point out. The handout for today is under that handout section. So go ahead and grab that there. There is a PDF of the handout for today. Also, any questions that you have on the topics that we have, please put that in the questions panel. We will do our best to get those questions answered today, and please try to keep them to the topic. It's easier for us to manage if you kind of keep that to the topic at hand. And you can always move the screen over, that little panel over, or open things up to full screen if you can't see the whole screen. Again, I'm Susan Patrick, and as we always do for our year-end topic, we have Seta on board to do the presentation for us, and then Kaylee is keeping us all in line, which is a hard job today. So I'm going to quickly get through any upcoming events or updates. Seta's going to jump into the year-end processing. Again, questions go in the questions panel. And please remember to fill out the survey. We do have our user group meetings mapped out for the upcoming year, but I don't have all the topics aligned. So your feedback is crucial. I do read through them all. We look at what you want us to present on, and that's typically how we come up with what we're giving you. So please make sure you fill out that survey. And of course, it's December, so happy holidays, everyone. As far as upcoming webinars that STEM on S has going on here, the only one that I have for right now to get us through the end of the year is actually tomorrow, and it's the HR strategy for 2022 and beyond. We have our very own Christy and Michelle will be presenting. So if you're not already signed up for that, please check out our website and get signed up. And our next user group meeting is scheduled for January 19th, 2022. Keep in mind the time change. We're just going to shift this a half an hour. So instead of starting at 1:30 Eastern, we're going to start at 2 o'clock. So make sure you kind of keep an eye out for that and kind of, manage your time accordingly. And keep in mind that we typically meet the third Wednesday of each month unless something comes up and we need to shift things. So get your calendars marked for 2022 and make sure you remember the shift in time. Otherwise, you might be sitting there waiting to get into a meeting that doesn't start for another half an hour. I've noticed that we have a lot of people jumping up on our website over the last couple months to get the Clarity study. It's still out there, so if you haven't gotten your copy, please check out our website to get the 42nd annual Deltek Clarity study. A lot of great KPIs and information there. And then as far as town halls go, actually last week was the town hall for was one for Vision and another one for Vantagepoint. I did look up there earlier in the week. They don't have anything yet posted for 22. Typically, they do those quarterly. So here's the link if you want to check that out. And again, they also do town halls for all of their other products as well. For those of you that are looking at the transition to Vantagepoint, we've talked about the CAP program all the time. I went one too far. This is a program that Deltek puts on to kind of help you understand the changes within Vantagepoint, a little bit of the differences between Vision and Vantagepoint. It is an awesome program. It is free. And here are the sessions that they have lined up for 22 at this point. So you want to make sure you sign up early. You can have as many people from your company sign up as you want. They do publish what each meeting is about. So if something doesn't pertain to you, you can skip it, and maybe there's, you know, 1 or 2 sessions that apply to others in your organization. So make sure you check that out. And then for the Deltek Cloud customers, you guys already know that if you're ready for that transition to Vantagepoint, Deltek pre-publishes the dates that they will be doing that. Right now, I have these 2 dates, the one in January and the one in February. Remember that you have to sign up in advance to secure that date. So please make sure that you're aware of that, and don't think that, you know, on January 15th, you're going to be able to sign up to go on January 21st. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up one of our first polling questions. We're just trying to get a gauge on our audience and who's using what product today. So are you a Vision or are you a Vantagepoint today? Don't tell me what you're going to be tomorrow. What are you today? So as we look at the answers coming in, it looks like, just for you to know, Seta, about 2/3 are Vision and about 1/3 are Vantagepoint. So that looks pretty interesting. I'm not surprised. I know if we ask this question next year, it might be flip-flopped. So Kaylee, you can go ahead and close that one out. We're around, again, 2/3 to 1/3. And then our next polling question, I was just curious on this one because we have some longtime users and then some new people. So how many times have you done year-end in the system? So we got, wow, we got a bunch of first-timers here. That's kind of exciting. So as this is kind of trending, we got, wow, it looks like 25 to 30% are first times. And then we got about the same number that are the veterans, that are too many to count. And then the other items are split in between. Kaylee, can you go ahead and close that out and just publish that so everyone can kind of see the results there and see how everybody has voted? And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn things over to Seta, and she's going to take you through the year-end processing. It is the only topic that we have on board for today. So I don't know if we're going to use up the whole hour or not, but Seta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
Now let me share my screen and just confirm that you can see that.
That is the perfect screen. Absolutely wonderful. All right, Seta, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody, and happy year-end. This seems like it went by pretty quick, but here we are again, 2021. And a couple of things have changed, a couple of things are the same. And those of you on Vantagepoint, I will point out, excuse me, where things have moved to, because as you know, with Vantagepoint, we have things on the desktop still and some items in the web browser. So here we are preparing for year-end, lovely time of year with Christmas and all the holiday activities. And just so everybody's aware, regardless of what system you're on, if it's Vision, it has to be 7.6. The updates that Deltek is providing is for 7.6. And obviously, Vantagepoint, they are upgrading constantly with updates, CUs, and those will be available for all Vantagepoint users. But for Vision, you have to be on 7.6. So if you're on an older version, you will not have all the updated tax forms. Just as a reminder, I'm sure everybody that's connected with Deltek, getting emails from them, sometimes we avoid them, have them go to our junk. This week, yesterday morning, I received mine. There is an update coming out this weekend for Vision that's related to the tax forms and tax tables. And Vantagepoint is coming out as well. I just don't know the exact date. Everything I read yesterday was for vision. So just be aware that there are updates coming out. They were releasing it this weekend coming up, and it'll be the updates for if you do payroll with Envision, and it'll be the new form for the 1099s. So it's your tax tables will be updated, your forms for 1099s will be updated, and if you're using the Vision payroll, it's very critical that you have those updates if you're on-prem, that those updates are installed prior. So we're going to go through the process of where to find each item, but I just wanted to point out Deltek does offer quite a few resources available in the Deltek at Customer Care. Once you connect to your Deltek Customer Care, this is your welcome screen. Right here on the bottom, you have year-end resources. It's a matter of clicking and going right to what your product is. So if you're on Vantagepoint or if you're on Vision, and it's targeted, you just hit the Vantagepoint, go, here are all your documentations that Deltek's providing, and a few videos. So if you want to see the little videos they put together, on average, most of these are ranging anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. If you're on Vision, just the only reason there's a little difference, Vision versus Vantagepoint, is really where it's located and how your screens look. So that's the only difference you're going to really find between the videos. The concept is going to be the same regardless of what system you're on. So I just want to show you, go to your Deltek Customer Support Center and click on year-end resources. So it's a nice little function they've been putting out for a few years now. We can open, there's a lot of misconception of year-end, and it's just what I've experienced with the clients. You can open your new year and not be done with 2021. We will always receive items that need to be put back into December. If we're on a calendar year, our auditors might give us journal entries that need to be put in. So you will not be completely done with your 2021 year on December 31st. There's only a few things that need to be complete for the calendar year, and that's really related to your payments. If you're running Vision payroll or Vantagepoint payroll, it's the pay date is what reflects on your W-2. So whatever you pay prior to December 31st is part of your W-2. Same goes with vendors. Whatever you pay through December 31st is part of your vendor payments for 1099s. We open up the new year, new 1099s, initialize the file, W-2s, once we're done with our payments. You could still process data back into December as long as it's not cash related. That's the only thing that would be affecting it. So you could open your new fiscal period. Just a reminder, in Vantagepoint and in Vision, we only open one fiscal period at a time. Do not, I repeat, do not open the year with all the periods. That doesn't work well. You'll regret it. There's areas that when we do the year end, the whole purpose is to kind of have a reset. We start fresh. Our payments to the vendors for the year gets reset to zero. Our salaries for Vision payroll, Vantagepoint payroll gets reset to zero. And our just a hit list of items that get reset if you're running your benefit accruals, or as Vantagepoint likes to call it, absence accruals. Those will be reset. It's a starting a counter from zero again. Your income statement, your indirect accounts get posted to retained earnings. And both Vantagepoint and Vision works well, where I am in December. I will see all my activity on my indirect accounts. When I pop into January, I start at zero. It's a refresh. And I could still go back to December and still see the information. So the system is handling your transactions accordingly based on fiscal period. first thing I typically have the chance to complete is my benefit year. Now, in Vision, the screens have not changed. They're all located under Utilities, Open New Benefit Year. If your benefit year does not say 2021 to 2022, please stop. If it's a future year, stop. If it's backwards, I would recommend discussing and making sure you run reports. Some clients I had have not been running the benefit accruals, and they want to start using it starting with 2022. So these dates may be off. These years may be off. So once we hit OK, what it does is it starts our counter on earned this year to 0, taken this year back to 0. If you're changing your benefit process, if you're what we call pre-accruing, and you were doing biweekly, monthly, semi-monthly accruals before, and now you want to do a pre-accrue where you're giving everybody their 80 hours or 120 hours up front, this is the time of year to make your changes to your benefit plan. And once we make those decisions internally, we need to make sure we update the configuration on the settings for benefit accruals. So evaluate your plan, make sure you have everything in place. And I always recommend, if we go under configuration, accounting, the time analysis, this is for Vision, the benefit accrual will show us what our rules are. So if we're going to pre-accrue what somebody could carry over, and if we're limiting what they could carry over from year to year. So this is the time of year to evaluate that. Once you post your December timesheets that's related to your benefits, after posting is when you would open your new benefit year. Prior to running your open benefit year, I always recommend running an accrued time report. So this is a strange thing. In Vantagepoint, it's still called an accrued time report. But when you look for the open benefit year, it will now be referenced as, let's go into Vantagepoint, periods. It's called absence year. So just remember, if you're in Vantagepoint, if you can't remember what it's called, if you just even type in year, at least you could find it. Just remember the word year, otherwise it's absence. So I always recommend running a time analysis, an accrued time report. So you have the year-end balances of what employees have taken and what their balance is remaining. So that way when you open the new benefit year, if you could carry everything over, whatever was at your end of year balance should become your beginning year balance once you open the new benefit year. So under Utilities for Vision, open new benefit year. Vantagepoint, it's under Utilities, periods, absence year. So just remember that if you go to the periods, you have the 3 items under here. And as well, we have our W-2 quarter available. So Vantagepoint has absence, open the new benefit year on the web version, and W-2 quarter, opening a new W-2 quarter on the web version. Once you complete your benefit year, I recommend, just reviewing your reports. And there's always the opportunity to make corrections through your history loading or adjustment function for benefits. So it doesn't have to be exact. We can make some adjustments. Again, if your rules have changed from year to year, now's the time to do it, and we'll make the changes if necessary through the function of making an adjustment. So I just have in the handouts, we have some screenshots of where to find these items. If you are multi-company, remember this function is run in each company. Any one of these open items for a multi-company environment, you would do the benefits in each company, and you would do the 1099s in each company. Our next year-end option is our 1099 initialization. This is one of those items where you do not have to print your 1099s just because you initialize the file. There's a lot of times where we need to review the files, review the information, possibly make some adjustments, and if for some reason we didn't have the timing correct last year, it will affect our numbers for this year. So I always recommend complete your cash processing, your AP payment processing, your cash disbursements, and your AP payment processing. Just complete your AP processing for payments purposes through December 31st. Then initialize your file. This has to be done prior to running any checks dated January 1st and beyond. So I know everybody's going to rush back into the office. Fortunately, we have an extra day to recover, Monday the 3rd, to do their rent checks. Do not run rent checks. Do not run any checks until your initialization has been done for the 1099s. And for vision, that has not moved. We could still find it under utilities, 1099 initialization. As you notice, this is my demo, so we try and break the system here. I ran this on February 5th. So that means any checks I ran from January 1st to February 5th, that's getting moved over. I will have to make some adjustments the following year to have the correct values. So that's why it's key to run the initialization prior to running any new checks in January. If this is any date older than 2021, could be December 31st, 2020, that's possible, then we will definitely will have a discrepancy. The system's telling us it's going to move everything from paid this year to paid last year. This is the field that the system is using to run the 1099s when it's time for you to run it. That's why you can run new checks. Once you do this initialization, you can run new checks and it will not affect our 1099 number. It's a quick process. They just hit initialize. In Vantagepoint, got to remember which one that one was, right? This is on the desktop version under utilities, periods, 1099 initialization. So for your Vantagepoint users, you will need to access your desktop to complete this step.
And Seta, I just want to note for everyone that's listening, because I know we had, 2/3 on Vision and 1/3 on Vantagepoint, that the handout does have, like she has here, for each topic, the screenshot of where you find those items, depending on the product that you're on. So I know it, we're living in two worlds right now, but Seta has done a great job of including all that information for both systems.
And not only have I been living in two worlds, Deltek decided they're going to release their cumulative update this weekend. So I have not been able to test some of the changes. I know there are some changes related to 1099s with what they call NEC and MIS. And the only thing I was able to grab from the handouts I had from the CU updates from Deltek is I know the form is changing. If you download the cumulative updates, the handouts that Deltek provides, it's going to show you the old 1099 form and the new 1099 form. They removed 3 boxes. So regardless this year, if you're going to use the system to print it out, you have to make sure you're up to date on your cumulative updates for Vision or for Vantagepoint because the form has changed. And I don't think I've seen the form change in many years. So this is going to be big. It's going to catch a lot of people off guard. So I just wanted to point out, if you are on-prem, make sure your IT person is downloading the updates. If you are a cloud client, Deltek will notify the SaaS administrator that everything's been updated, and it's their responsibility. Deltek's responsibility to make sure you're up to date on the latest CU. So there are changes, and I can't advise you how to use the changes, tax purposes, and what falls under each category. But there is the forms that will be. Make sure if you do buy forms from Staples or wherever that you do notice there is a change to the form, please. Hate to have the wrong form in the printer.
Well, yeah, that's the big thing, right? You're thinking that you're printing the non-employee compensation. What was that? Used to be $7.
Yeah.
I think it's been a long time since I've done 1099s. That's all changed now, so you really need to make sure, which form you're purchasing, and when you're running this to make sure that you're getting the right form for the right payout, so that it's going to the government correctly. And just a question, I know this is just, some of this stuff is just changing, literally just changed, I don't know, a few days ago, so you may not know, Seta, but is the system going to be able to print both a miscellaneous and the NEC?
Yes, I believe there's a checkbox there's two tabs on the 1099 form within the system, and I could just go into, I apologize, I'm much quicker in Vision still. I'm not quite at the 50-50 level yet. If we go to the 1099 form, I know there will be two tabs where you would designate it for NEC or miscellaneous. And for some reason, this is 2020, but I don't have it in here, which is odd.
Our demo might be on an older CU here.
Yeah, so that's what I was concerned about. But there's two tabs. And I might, I'm just going into Vantagepoint to see if it's there. I don't think it is. But there were two tabs, and I mean, I worked with plenty of clients last year, and I noticed it where you would bounce, and it will print. It says exclude from miscellaneous or exclude from NEC, and it'll print it properly. And I might even have.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I was just seeing if I had it on my screenshot, so I might have missed that. But you would just generate your work file, and you can make adjustments. So this is the 1099s you have until end of January, and there's one piece of advice, because I know I experienced it personally when I had to print 1099s. We tend to wait until the 29th or 30th to print them, and they have to be postmarked by the 31st. And there's always an issue with the printer or the form or things aren't lining up. So my recommendation, just from personal experience and how I've had to be on late night calls with clients on the 29th and 30th, please, there's no reason why you can't just print a set, even the first day you do them, when you initialize a file, on white paper. Just print them to see what they look like. You will notice even on white paper if it's jumping. What's happened in the past, sometimes there's an extra space somewhere or something's not lining up, and you'll notice the form will be sliding down the sheet. So the recommendation is do a test print white paper before you actually load a form. It will make your life so much easier and less stressful come the 30th and 31st. Once you initialize your file, there's an easy function within Vantagepoint and Vision where you would verify your payments. All this is doing is it's taking that field from paid last year and comparing it, physically comparing to your vendor review payments for the year. So it'll look at any payments dated January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. And it says, I've paid $1,000, and it's going to verify paid last year amount. And if there's a discrepancy, it will print on the verification report. If nothing prints, whatever was paid last year field matches physical payments from vendor review for the year. The system is just doing a comparison. If there's any discrepancies, you can look into it, you can run your voucher ledger, and determine which number is the correct number. And it could be something as simple as, I know some vendors, certain payments are part of a 1099, so you could make those adjustments. So it's really looking at your calendar year for 1099 purposes. So this is the fields in Vantagepoint. Paid last year is on your vendor tab. And within Vision, it's on your accounting tab, paid last year. It's only going to do your 1099s for those vendors you have marked as 1099 required. The system handles if you have to do electronic filing. You just want to make sure you have all your states that need to be done are loaded in here, and what your state ID is, what states you're going to be filing your 1099s for. So if you're only located in one state, you're fine. If you have multiple offices, you just want to make sure you're maintaining them. There is some flexibility to adjust your forms for margins. So it's always under Print, Advanced Printing and Vision, and for Vantagepoints, I love the other actions. So if you can't find something just in general for Vantagepoint, whenever I can't find an option, I usually click on Other Actions, and I usually see a few extra options there that I would not anticipate. So you go to your print options, and you could adjust your top, bottom, left, right margins. If you use the default layout, you don't have the options to change your margins. You just do custom layout in either Vantagepoint or Vision, and you could adjust left, right, top, bottom. Not a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, and to Seta's point earlier, especially if you're adjusting the margins, please print it on plain paper to make sure that it's aligning, kind of hold it up and see if it's aligning. Unless you have a lot of extra, as you start playing with those margins, you can waste a lot of forms if you're not testing it on plain paper first.
Thank you for reminding everybody, Susan. Our next step is our payroll process. I know it's not as common. I mean, everybody has to use the 1099 initialization. A majority will use the benefits. I would think our payroll clients for Vision and Vantagepoint are the minority here, but it is there. The system can't handle it. And your W-2 quarter is actually on the web version. And I will bring that over. Again, you go to Vantagepoint. We go to Utilities, Periods, and open your new W-2 quarter. By simply doing Open, that's right, I still have a payroll going on here. So you would just open the new period, and you could still go back and process information for a prior quarter if necessary. Sometimes we have some adjustments that might come through later, and you could still, especially if there was a void check or whatever, you could still go back and make those adjustments. The system knows when you update with the current tables, it knows based on what W-2 quarter you're in, which table to access. So you do not have to wait to install your updates. And in Vision, it hasn't changed. It's still under the utilities to open your new W-2. Just like 1099s, we have the option to generate the work file, make some modifications, and preview W-2s, print them. Again, I'm not sure. There are changes, and again, it was just published in the release notes from Deltek. There are changes to W-2s, and this is the first year, and it's regardless if you're using Vision, Vantagepoint payroll, or third-party payroll. Just so you're aware, I think there's some changes if there was any COVID sick time. That has to be captured in a separate box. So just look out for those updates on anything related to W-2 information. Same thing where you can adjust your margins. It prints out your W-3 worksheet. There hasn't been many changes in the process for W-2s, except, like I said, they are requiring if an employer has done certain things, they have to report the COVID in a separate box. Just some miscellaneous items as reminders. If you're a SaaS client, Deltek will install your updates. If you're on-prem, you need to download the CUs and update your database. Certain things, it's kind of a nice time of year to do the cleanup, start fresh, make sure we're not bringing any extra baggage into the 2022. It's a time of year to look at your labor, your timesheet postings. I see a lot of unposted timesheets. Something might slip into a prior timesheet period because we don't have the discipline or the process in place to close prior periods for timesheets, and somebody might be just clicked the wrong button and they ended up to be in the September timesheet and they thought they were in the December timesheet. So just review your unposted labor report and unposted timesheets and review them, clean them up. Close out prior timesheet periods so people they could always look at a closed timesheet that's been posted. It just prevents them from going into one and making it change or entering information for a timesheet cycle they were not here for. There's the holiday calendar in your settings, or in Vision, it's in the configuration. If you are maintaining those, I like to have that holiday column on my timesheet where it's shaded blue. Kind of gives me a reminder, something to look forward to. Mileage rate will be changing come January. Based on what I could tell online, it should be going up. I think it's going to 57.5. Like I said, I did do the Google on IRS mileage. I can't confirm 100% because they kept talking about 2021. But you have to just make sure your timing for your expense reports, any mileage through the 31st is at one rate. Any mileage beyond is at a different rate. You could always pay your employees more, it's frowned upon to pay them less. Set up your calendar for your new timesheet periods going forward. And there's no reason why you can't open your periods for the year, and you could open them up. We could set them up and have them as closed and open up a few at a time. I tend to like to keep only a couple of cycles open at a time so employees aren't in the wrong period. But, it depends on your discipline. One thing I've noticed is closing the accounting periods. That is key. It just helps you, prevents anybody from going to the wrong period to process data. There's security settings for that as well, but it's always nice to see closed periods and things are complete and nothing can change by accident. And it's a time of year to evaluate if you'll be changing your billing rates. A lot of clients might decide to put in their billing rates in place sometime in December, come forward for the 2022 year, because the projects are starting to kick off and all the time's going to really be in 2022. But if you're looking at your cost rates, average cost rates, billing rates, if your increases are going through in January, it's a time of year to look at all your tables, make the necessary updates. And again, there's additional information on the Deltek customer care. I was trying to read some of the language on the website for the government. I got lost. That's why I work at Sanborn S. I call the CPAs. If you have any questions on specific items, I do recommend you talk to your CPA that's related to taxes. We could help you with the system side of it, making sure the forms print correct, but the word tax is just one of those words I don't like to use in this household. It's a topic that's beyond me. Susan, any questions?
I think we got all the questions. I'm not sure the context of Casey's question he just put in pertaining to two. So maybe you can elaborate, Casey, asking about doing two separate mileage rates. That might need you guys to create a separate code. If you're reimbursing the standard mileage rate to employees on some projects, but maybe other projects you have capped, so you can create two different codes for them to use on their expense report.
Something like that. You could do two codes. I've had clients where employees are kind of late on their expense reports, so they typically will have mileage rate this year, mileage rate last year. Keep it very generic, not specific. And if you're putting in anything for 2021, they use the last year rate. If they're putting anything in for 2022, they put the this year rate. And it just gets you by that overlapping time frame.
Perfect. And Amy was asking about where a report or something maybe to find unposted employee expenses.
Expenses?
Yep. So that should just be in your posting.
Yeah. Unposted expense reports, that would be within the expense itself, the expense module. If you went to expense report, I got a whole bunch that are not posted. So when you go under your expense report, click on the employees. Let me slide that over. This will show you the expense reports that are not posted or submitted or approved, like everything that's out there to be reviewed, approved, and posted. So click on employees. If you're looking to see what hasn't been paid, that's under the employee reporting, employee ledger. And you can select unpaid. So if I go to reporting, employee ledger, there's an option right on the screen, unpaid expenses. And that will show you what has not been paid. For timesheets, this is used to always blow my mind. Under reporting, I would go to project, and there's unposted labor. if you wanted to find all timesheets that were not posted, I could do everything prior to it. The oldest one I have is 1/9/2021, and I could print a report and see all the old timesheets with employees, and the employees could be terminated as well. I mean, that's what happens. And especially if there's been any changes in your payroll manager or timesheet administrator, things could have been overlooked from changing the guards.
Awesome. Can you go back to your slide deck possibly and just pull up the slide that shows the two 1099 forms, last year's and this year's?
Oh, I just came across that yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to put it in my slide deck.
Oh,
so,
okay. I thought it was in the slide deck.
No, I pulled this off of this cumulative update listing I got off the Deltek site.
Got it. See, this is where this time of year, right? And I don't understand, why the government can't make these decisions and changes earlier on in the year. Why it always has to be at the last minute. I'm sure it also drives Deltek and software developers crazy of making those last minute changes as the government decides to change things. Same thing with rates, right? When you think about tax changes and sometimes the rates aren't published until the beginning of January and you're trying to run a January payroll. So that's why you have to kind of stay on top of these things. As Seta said, we do our best, but we're not CPAs, we're not tax advisors. We have another group in our organization that does those things. So make sure that you're kind of staying in tune with those advisors or those folks in your organization that kind of keep their finger on the pulse of these changes.
Just a reminder to the payroll individuals, if you're running your Vision or Vantagepoint payroll, the tables, the CU updates will update your federal and state tables. It does not touch any local tax tables, and anything that's your state unemployment tax rate, which are employer driven, it does not change any of those percentages. That's individual. Local items has to be changed by you, and you need to know what the rates are.
Yep, that's always fun, and don't forget to do that. Changing your specific company's experience rates for unemployment and those kind of things, you need to make sure that you guys are on top of. And Seta, I believe in the PowerPoint, or maybe you just showed it on the screen, the listing of all of those videos and stuff that Deltek has on the customer care site.
I actually have that. It's if I go. I gave you screenshots of where to find the year-end resources, and just a screenshot of if you went to Vision and if you went to Vantagepoint.
Perfect. I thought I saw that there previously.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I just showed it live so people could see how easy it is to get to. And I did do some of the videos, and like I said, any range of 2 minutes to 5 minutes.
Let's see. Amy has, I don't know if it's just more of a statement or if there's a question here, that there are times where they process vendor bills and then they decide not to process the payment. And it would be incomplete in Vantagepoint. So keep in mind, right, the system operates on an accrual basis. There's not a problem for you putting vendor bills in at any time. The 1099 just tracks when those payments are cut. So I think you should be fine with what you're doing, Amy, there. There shouldn't be anything that's incomplete. It's just that a payment's not processed there, therefore it doesn't become part of the 1099 value until the check is cut. And this is a question from Buster, and I think it's kind of important to tell everybody. He's asking about when Vision is no longer going to be supported. Deltek has not published that date, right? So there is no end date with Vision at this time. So no
As
worries
long as
there
it's 7.6.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about end of life where you have to go to
Yes.
Vantagepoint. So you are absolutely correct, Seta, that in order to get any of the year-end updates, you have to be on 7.6 in order to get, the CUs and stuff that they're pushing out. But as far as end of life, where you have to be on Vantagepoint, there is no date published from Deltek at this time. All right. I don't see any other questions floating in. As always, folks, we appreciate you guys joining us. Wish you guys a happy holiday, great new year, and I guess we'll see everybody in January. Great job, Seta. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Kaylee, I think you can close us out.